News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
And a very good morning to you, top of the morning indeed to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And as we get on with life in Sri Lanka and with elections almost round the corner, in fact, perhaps at the next block, we've got you a guest today who's from the deep south and is a youthful member of parliament, is Mr. Kanchana Vijaysekara. Very good morning to you.
Good morning for us.
And I'd like straight away, welcome to the program. I think it's the first time that you're on our program.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
And I really want to ask you straight away, how is your dad? Your dad, of course, is Mahinda Vijaysekara.
Yeah, it's been almost 10 years since the...
It's been that long?
Yeah, it's coming up to 10 years.
Right.
It's actually a little bit over 10 years now. March 10th was the 10 year anniversary of that.
Yeah.
And he's not 100% right now, but he's maintaining his health.
Yeah.
He went through a very difficult time, but he has got through a lot of tough times. But now he's more settled. His health is a little bit settled than what it used to be.
Good. Well, you know, we wish him well in his recovery process.
Thank you.
Please pass him our best wishes.
Thank you for us.
Of course, Mahinda Vijaysekara, one of the victims in a long list of attacks by the terrorists, and we need to remember that once in a while, that this is what terrorism can do, change everyone's lives. Now then, Kanchana, you're from the deep south,
right.
And I wanted to ask you, there's several questions, but obviously from the south is the, we have information that there's big mega project going to start there, and so that must be good news. If it's not good news, why isn't it?
No, any investment will be good news for Sri Lanka right now.
Yeah.
But if you look at the project that is being proposed,
yeah.
If you look at the background into it and how it was done,
yeah.
it doesn't look like the project will take off.
Yeah.
It looks like another Volkswagen project that was brought by this government in 2015.
Yeah.
Because this project was in the pipeline for some time. I can remember back in 2013 when President Rajapaksa was the president.
Yeah.
There was a project proposal for oil refinery in Hambantota as well.
Right.
But the Environment Authority was of the view that oil refinery would damage the environment in the area, especially the salt farm as well as the Mundala sanctuary.
Yeah.
So the talks of a proposed oil farm and oil refinery was taken out, and another proposal was brought forward in 2016.
Yeah.
So this was a proposal that was put into the cabinet in 2016. But if you look at the background into it, the first cabinet paper goes in 2016.
Right.
But the company interested in it only establishes themselves in Singapore and in Sri Lanka only after 6 months after the first cabinet paper goes in.
Right.
So
what you say is cabinet papers done without there was no legal basis for that company because it didn't exist at the time.
Right. And now they say it's a joint venture project with one Singaporean company that is backed by Indian group, which goes into agreement with the Oman Oil and Gas Ministry, the state itself.
Yeah.
But last week itself, the Oman government rejected any investment or any involvement in the project. But then we saw the Oman Oil and Gas Minister arriving as a guest of honor or a chief guest at the function. But he never made a statement saying they are going to be investing in the project.
Right.
So they're talking about $3.8 billion US, and you just look at if the company that has been awarded this has the capacity to invest this money, or whether that company has the experience of doing any.
So you're concerned about that?
Yeah, because we have seen in the past as well. Now there are so many cabinet proposals that have been passed in this these last 4 years,
right?
But most of the projects haven't taken off,
right?
And we have seen there's a group of people who gets approval from the cabinet, gets approval from the parliament.
So Kanchana, I see the point you make, because there are so many. There was the Volkswagen place and all sorts of projects. If they were real, splendid news for our country. But in this oil refinery matter, who's behind this project then?
Now, it doesn't give a clear picture who's actually behind it. But when you look at the company that has shown interest in this, Silver Park International, a Singaporean-based company, some of the directors in that company are related to a top political person in Tamil Nadu, the DMK party. And one person that is actually registered here in Sri Lanka is from Mullaitivu. That was the registered address given here. And we have not seen office operating in Sri Lanka. It could be because they're just starting business in Sri Lanka. But it says it's a Singaporean company.
But you know, like many things in Sri Lanka, especially when they are big ticket items of grave national interest or potential national interest, there's almost always a politician behind it. So who is this politician? Is there a politician behind it?
That's what we are trying to find out, figure out. But looks like...
Do you think there's somebody in this government who's acting by proxy for the strong man from that area, who's undoubtedly the Rajapaksa family?
It looks like, if you look at the company being based in Singapore and using the Singapore trade agreement as a benefit into coming to this agreement, and then the proposal goes from Honorable Malik Samaravikrama.
Yes, now he was the one who was behind the FTA.
As well.
And as the network that exposed and continues to keep the bond scam in the front news, we actually believe that this is a potential for a greater fraud than the bond scam.
Well, it looks like something they're trying to send in money that was robbed out of the central bank bond scam through the Singapore markets again as an investment.
It's only if when you look at the numbers, because the refinery it's big numbers anyway. And so when you look at those numbers, the investment numbers, and then you look at what was made in the bond scam, it's minuscule compared to this refinery project. And then, of course, you know, because you have to put two and two, and you have to look at it from all sides. You have a Singapore FTA that was rushed through, and in there, during that agreement, I do remember lots of concern being expressed at the time, because it said that Singaporean can come here to work. Now, that's fine if they were Singaporean, but when you allow the Singaporean company, like you've just pointed out, the ownership of that Singapore company is vested with Indian interests. So the claim at the time was that you can get Indian people coming to work here via the Singaporean entity who would enter into an agreement in Sri Lanka. That's obviously one aspect of it.
That is one aspect. More than the people coming in, if you look at the people behind it, all these people are controversial figures that have been spoken about in the media in the last few years. And if you look at the cement park...
Now that's the whole thing. Now, even if you leave the refinery project alone, if it happens, hey, great. You know, and the Omanis, well, you know, they sell oil. They've got plenty of it. And a refinery anywhere in the world is a potential client for them. That's fine. You know, if it happens, it happens. But there are questions. But the cement factory will just kill the environment anyway. Your bird park nearby will just fly out the window.
Yeah, there was actually another proposal for a cement factory as well back in 2013.
Right.
The Environment Authority at that time they gave strict guidelines.
Yeah.
There has to be a certain way that it has to be built, and certain laws that has to be taken care of when going with the project.
Yeah.
So I don't think it will have a major impact, the cement factory, on the environment as the oil refinery.
Right.
The oil refinery is going to have a much more impact because.
But if you look at the experience of the Norachole project,
Right.
yes, you know, you need things, you need to get on with progress like Umar and so on. But the point is that officialdom doesn't take care of the people who unfortunately happen to live nearby. They need to be relocated, they need to be treated, not with kid glove treatment like some people were treated at the Bond Commission, but you know, they need to be treated with some courtesy, at least courtesy, if not you know, with sympathy, because you need to move them out. You can't expect people to live near a power station or near a cement factory and so on. But none of this happens.
You know how it works in Sri Lanka. To get any sort of approval, any sort of permit, if you know the right people, anything is possible in this country. So that is how a lot of environmental impact reports, even though it should not have been granted, was granted for proposals, projects in the previous years as well. But for this particular project, I believe it could be done if they're doing it in the proper way, the cement factory. I'm not talking about the oil refinery. Oil refinery is a complete different story, because oil refinery, what they're proposing to do is away from the harbour as well.
Right.
Because the main industrial zone around the harbour does not belong to the Sri Lankan government anymore.
Well, it's 99-year lease to the Chinese.
It's 198 years actually.
Oh,
There's
is
an
it?
option of another 99 years.
Oh, a renewal option?
Renewal option of 99 years.
So they virtually sold it.
Yeah, it's 198 years. So, so that immediate industrial park around the Hambantota harbour, that 15,000 acres, is with the Chinese merchant shipping China. It's vested with them.
Yeah.
So the proposed oil refinery is going to be away from the Hambantota port. So they will have to spend a lot of money doing the pipeline to bring in the oil refinery, the product, to the port as well.
Right.
And that will have to actually go underneath the new hospital that has been built in Hambantota, as well as the you've got the other facilities that have been done in the Hambantota district.
Yeah.
Most of it will have to be demolished to do a pipeline just to carry the product from where they are proposing now
to the port.
So that I don't think they have thought about those things. And the Environment Authority, we spoke to them last Friday, and the foundation stone was laid on Sunday, and even by Friday evening, there was no environmental impact assessment done on this project. They have given approval to go ahead with the cement plant, but not the oil refinery. They haven't done an environmental assessment report on that. So
the cabinet paper, or the purported sheet of paper, which is supposed to be the cabinet paper, appears to say that they want the land allocated so that they can do a site-specific environmental impact report.
Right, but see, separating giving out land and laying a foundation stone is two different things.
Okay.
They can allocate piece of land and say, okay, we are looking at a proposed oil refinery, but then they have to go through an environmental impact report as well.
Right.
Those were the things that this government, when back in the opposition, pointed out for the Port City project. The Port City project actually had an environmental impact report. What they said was that was done in an illegal manner, but there is not even a impact report done in this case. So they have to take into all those things into account, as well as the investment. Now, yesterday the Deputy Minister, Nalin Bandara, pointed out and said there's 74 million or 740 million that was deposited. I think the 74 million, what he said, was deposited for the opening ceremony. But if it is a $3.8 billion US investment,
Yeah.
74 million is not the 10% that is
Yeah.
required by the BUI as a startup deposit that has to be.
It has to be several hundreds of millions.
Yeah, so that is not the deposit that they have to be looking at.
Right.
So
there's another matter.
Yeah.
Usually the Reserve Bank of India are extremely, well, I don't know about slow, but they're very methodical and thorough before giving approval for Indian monies to be shifted out of the country,
Right.
even if it's for investment. Now, this is, we looked at the figures, it's something like $1.4 billion US is the equity participation to the balance, or just over $2 billion is supposed to be a debt.
Right.
All right. Now, we don't know where this debt's going to come from, but leave that alone. But it's very strange that this Reserve Bank of India, that's very reserved in its approval processes and so on, and any businessman from India doing business investment in Sri Lanka will tell you this. It's straightforward, but it takes a while, and they're very thorough. And therefore, I'm sat there waiting for some form of response, statement. The Indian trade attaché is very, very silent on these matters. There's no statement from anywhere. And so I can understand your concern as a politician from that area and so on. But, you know, so is it true that the valuation of the land, the BOI, they normally have a valuation of about, what is it, 2 million an acre, 20 million?
$20,000 US.
$20,000 US an acre.
That was back in 2014. Now
Right.
the land values have gone up again.
So what's the value of this land?
It could be well over $25,000 US right now, the valuation.
Right. This is government valuation.
Government valuation. But what they have given it out is at $4,000 US per acre.
Right.
Because 2014 we signed up 11 projects to come into the Hambantota port,
Right.
and they all agreed on 20,000 per acre,
Right.
and an increment of 3% annually after the first 5 years.
Right.
So now there is no increment on this,
Right.
and it's well below the valuation of the previous projects.
Right.
LAFS is already operating. They're paying at 20,000 an acre.
Right.
But what they're proposing to pay is at 4,000.
Yeah.
So maybe they're going to use this land to borrow money against this land, or I have the other feeling of this project was approved by the cabinet, by the not the parliament, by the BUI,
Yeah.
solely to go and sell it off to someone else.
So it was tailor-made.
Still, yeah, and tailor-made. It just looks like the bond scam all over again. It looks like an organized, well-organized project behind it. Because if you're looking at from 2016 as well.
Yeah.
The first cabinet paper goes in 2016.
Right.
And they go into the free trade agreement after that. So looks like the free trade agreement allowing chemicals, oil refineries and all these people and all the investment coming from Singapore.
You've cracked it now.
So this looks like a very well organized, planned mechanism, just like the bond scam, where the governor was appointed by the prime minister.
Yeah.
The governor was given, the governor's institute was taken under the prime minister. So all that looks very familiar, very similar to this project as well. And you're talking about the Singaporean companies involved, and you can't forget the main person that we speak about in Singapore, Arjuna Mahendran.
The hairs is sticking up here now because it's frightening what's going on to our country and our money.
Right.
There's one other thing. I know that you're from the other side of the political divide, but Sajid Premadasa is undoubtedly a popular figure. He's got a name that can sell. Everybody knows the name. Now then, he's from that region.
Right.
His electorate is down there. in spite of the fact that there is another family with equally big name. And he is also the deputy leader of the United National Party, and he's got a pretty senior and responsible cabinet posting. It's not some cabinet posting that's just only in name. He's actually got some work and he's doing some work. But despite all of this, and the fact that he's from that area, the supervision of this project was not handed over to him. It was handed over to Sagala Ratnayaka.
Right.
You can argue that he's from Matara.
No. It looks very clear. One thing now, the oil refinery, there's no investment as such now been spoken about, and how things were played. All this looks like in one way maybe to undermine the deputy leader as well, taking some control in his area, give it out to certain other members who are close to the leader of the UNP, who is looking at contest in the next presidential election as well.
Right.
So this project been taken out of Sajith Premadasa.
Yeah.
And
It could have been a flagship project in his quest to become
Right.
the leader of the country.
And what he mentioned in his speech as well, I believe his speech was done before the Prime Minister's speech in Hambantota.
Right.
And he, what he wanted to do was, he said he will have a close look at this project.
Right.
And he will make sure that project takes off.
Yeah.
But straight after his speech,
Yeah.
in the Prime Minister's speech was where he said this whole thing will be vested with Honourable Sagal Ratnayaka, his close confidant. So Sajith Premadasa is once again sidelined, not only within his party, but in his district as well, in these projects.
Which is all not very good leadership, is it? But I wonder, Kanchana, you can see what's the developments with the bond scam. And the central bank, for long there have been people telling us that young Arjun Aloysius and the older elder Arjun Mahendran, the governor, couldn't have done this just between the two of them, that they needed help from some people in the central bank themselves. And yesterday we saw the arrest of the deputy governor of the central bank in connection with this matter. Now, that must be sending, I hope, and I'm asking you, do you think it's sending signals to the staff at the BOI who should now be on notice that even after what happened to Lalipira Tunga, that if you mess up, if you mess with the law and the procedure, you will be held accountable at some point, as Mr. Samarasiri is probably finding out to his utter discomfort now that he's in remand.
Right. That actually sends a clear message. And we saw that Dr. Samarasiri's attorney at law yesterday saying in his case that the governor was the one who directed the tender board chairman, the deputy governor, to go ahead with the perpetual treasury's bond issue. So it clearly gives out a message to the government officials. So I hope they do a check on these things before they go forward with it. And we are not opposing any investment into this country. If there's investment coming in, it will be good. The dollar will probably go down. If there's 3.8 billion being rolled into the Sri Lankan economy, that will be actually good at this time. But we are not sure whether this is another project that is being used.
If you think about it, I was scratching my head, and it only clicked yesterday. There was an important figure who wasn't there at the opening of this ceremony, for the oil refinery, this mega project, and where our energy security will probably be vested eventually there, right? And that was the Minister of Power and Energy. He wasn't there yesterday. On Sunday. He wasn't there. And I thought to myself, well, what's more important than a 3.8 billion project which we talk about energy? You know, it was rather sad yesterday when Arjun Aloysius had to see his daddy taken away into remand. From all accounts, Jeff Aloysius is a terribly nice gentleman. And I don't know, I've never really heard anything bad about him. And it must have been difficult for a son to see daddy being taken in, especially when the son is virtually the main suspect along with the father-in-law.
I think it's time now for Arjun to come out and maybe in front of the courts just to say who was involved in it, who actually initiated this plan, because it's not just Arjun Aloysius alone.
Yeah.
And Arjun Mahendran and Arjun Aloysius alone couldn't have done this.
Yeah.
So there was a clear-cut plan, and we saw that in the Bond Commission report as well.
Yeah.
Just before this taking place, there was a meeting with a few officials and ministers as well. Honorable Malik Samarikrama, Kabir Hashim, the Prime Minister, and a few other important figures in the UNP, meeting with the Treasury officials.
Yeah.
Just before this took place, a day before this took place.
Yeah.
So I think it's time for them to come out now and them to point out the actual people behind this whole plan.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point they could come out and give out all the details, the evidence, and maybe...
Do you know Arjun?
Yes, I do.
Have you managed to tell him this in private?
No, actually, I've known him a few years ago, but haven't actually seen him since 2015.
Okay.
So I've met him a few times in 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
We were in parallel batches in school, so
Okay.
But I haven't been able to speak to him. But if I do, actually meet him, I would tell him to be honest about it and go out. And if he wants to clear his name out, that's the only way that he can come out, and especially for his father's name.
But it's very sad to see Jeff having to be in there. There's another person who served on the board of the company for 8 unfortunate days, and he's also in remand.
If you look at all these other directors involved in it, I don't think half of them knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Maybe a few individuals knew what was going on.
And that's a lesson, isn't it? It's a commercial lesson for all those who want to, who aspire to be directors in a company and think that everything's fine. But as a director, you are liable to know, and you must know everything that's going on in your company.
Right.
So, Kanchana, let's, the closing stages of this program, we get to something that Sri Lankans love, and they love their politics, don't they? Well, you do. You entered politics with your dad and so on there. Presidential election. So who's going to be the candidate of your party? Is it GR, BR, MR, UNP? What is it? What's happening?
There is a lot of proposals who should be the candidate. There are a few names that have been spoken about.
Yeah.
We haven't had a discussion based on who's going to be our presidential candidate,
Right.
but there are some front runners.
Yeah.
GR is one.
Yeah.
BR is also another candidate that has been spoken about.
Right.
And Honorable Dinesh Gunawardene is another candidate that has been spoken about. And there are various other party leaders.
Can you see the Rajapaksa family ever giving it away to somebody else? Even like Dinesh?
No, not that the Rajapaksa family decides who becomes a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
It's what the public wants right now.
Okay.
There is a request, a massive request from party supporters, from the SLPP, whenever we go for meetings.
Yeah.
There is a call for a Rajapaksa
Right.
to come back and to take over this leadership.
Right.
But what they're actually asking is for Mahinda Rajapaksa to come back in some sort of capacity to run the country. But that is not possible under the constitution.
Right.
So the ideal candidate would be Mahinda Rajapaksa if there was a chance for him to contest.
Right.
So that is why they believe, our supporters as well as the public,
Yeah.
I think they are more leaning towards Gotabaya Rajapaksa right now because they have seen his track record, how he supported the president in defeating the terrorism, and as well as planning the cities of Colombo, Kandy, and with the UDA under him, he did some work.
Because we've only got literally last minute to go, I'm not going to respond because it's going to take up all our time. But I would want to ask you this question. Do you think that the media are overdoing this bit about exposing corruption? What do you think about that?
No, media's responsibility should be to expose anyone from our side or from any other side.
Yeah.
If they are involved in corruption, that should be the media's responsibility to show it to the public.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things that are, if there was no media coverage on these things, I think a lot of people would be unaware of what is going on.
Yes.
So it's absolutely the right of the media to do it, but it should be done in a proper way. And I think MTV and Sirasa, they have done it with all the documents and with all the evidence.
Yeah. You can see this big office in front here.
Right.
No story enters here unless it's got a base and it needs the documentation to put it out.
Right. But unfortunately, a lot of people think that a lot of accusations or a lot of things that have been told in the media are fabricated because that was probably to do with some certain incidents in the past, where a lot of people went into the bribery commission, complained without any evidence. But even the cases that have been taken up with evidence, filed in the bribery commission or with the criminal investigation division, they are not being taken seriously by the public because of this outcome. And I think the media has done a lot in showing out, especially the bond scam. People wouldn't have known what the bond scam was if not for the media.
Thank you very much. I really wanted to ask that because sometimes you do get people say, oh God, it's the bond again. Yes, it's God, the bond again. You know, the problem is that we have a passion to serve the people. And whichever story that comes out here, it's discussed editorially and so on. But at the end of the day, nothing goes on there unless the team listens to the story. And our team also includes the chairman. So it's an onerous responsibility which we take absolutely seriously. Thank you very much for that. This discussion, 30 minutes is gone. But, you know, Kanchana, Vijaysekara, thank you very much. I hope that we will see more of you in the years ahead. And once again, give our best wishes and God bless your dad with all his difficulties. Thank you, and we hope that you'll keep on track and see why it is that Sajid Premadasa has been sidelined here, because that, to me, that's the story. I don't know about an oil refinery, but that's the story. Councillor Vijaysekara, thank you very much.
Thank you for asking.
And that's the way it was on Newsline this morning. Take care, have a great day ahead, and of course, God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.